Good morning. After the inauguration of President Trump, we saw worldwide, globally, a wave of women assertion. Or was it women? These organized, engineered protests do raise certain questions. And the questions are very uncomfortable. I fully appreciate, agree, and promote the concept that protests are a staple food for democracy. For any democratic society, if the people cannot protest, then the very essence of democracy is negated. But the protests that are engineered, that are not spontaneous, are not something to be cherished or relished. Okay, I admit for the sake of argument that there is some organization somewhere else. But the protests that took place the days succeeding the inauguration are a clear reminder of what we used to see in the 50s and the 60s. When any action of US was met by protests worldwide, and those protests was always engineered by the Communist Party of Russia. Nobody can deny that. Is the Democratic Party of US going the way the Russian Communist Party was while professing freedom, progressive ideas? Incidentally, both our parties, the Communists and the Democrats, are leftists and progressive. Maybe this is a sine qua non of the so-called progressives and the liberals to engineer protests not on a local level, but on a national and international level. Now, when we say that the people have a right to protest, they have the right to protest if they have agreements, which can be at a local level, which can be sometimes on a national level. And yes, sometimes on global level. But then there has to be equity. Now let's take the substances as they are, the substantive reasons. There were a lot of protests against the war in Vietnam. You remember that riots took place and everything against the Darfs because the US was bombing one country. But the people's conscience was outraged and there were protests. Bush bombed two countries and there were a lot of protests. However, Obama bombed 7 countries and there was not a single protest anywhere in the world. Why? Simply because the people who engineered the protests did not think it proper to criticize Obama. Rather, he was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize. That's one part. Second point. Was Trump not elected democratically in a democratic process? So the protest should be there after he has performed or not performed. But to protest right at that time shows a contempt for democracy. You might say that some of his utterings were not acceptable. That his views on women, which is refuted by the fact that the millions of women voted in his favor. As a matter of fact, more women voted in favor of Trump than in favor of Hillary. But then why were there no protests when ISIS was raping Yazidi women and when the women were being sold as slaves in Nigeria? Women have been trampled time and again. Why have there been no global protests? Why are there no protests against infanticide in India? Why are there no protests against the honor killing in Pakistan and India? Why were there no protests when the refugees created a mayhem in Cologne and other districts of Germany as well as in Denmark and Sweden? So, the whole thing is fraught with danger. And who organized these demonstrations? Naturally, the Liberal Party. Liberal Party might mean Democratic Party, supported by the Liberals. Now, another two instances of this demonstration engineered globally. One, they were the promoters. One of the promoters, Linda, is a Palestinian and has clear ties to Hamas. So naturally she cannot and would not tolerate Trump coming in. And Linda, what's her name? Sarsour? Yeah, Linda Sarsour. She was the major one. And the protest has clearly the political overtones. Now, one thing which shocked me was that people even in Ghana were protesting. Only I think India was left behind and China was left behind where there were no protests. Maybe they could not somehow or the other engineer the protests over there. Otherwise, you can be sure Indian women can be as easily manipulated as people anywhere in the world. So Linda had her own agenda. Warren and others had their own agenda. And when I was shocked, at the language used, one of the speakers, who happens to be an actress, said, "We are nasty women." And she counted among the nasty women people like Hillary, Michelle Obama, warned Elizabeth Warren. Now, if they are nasty, that is a clear admission of the guilt. She admits another women connected to Hollywood, Madonna, were using F word indiscriminately. And if you use F word for them, then it's an abuse. But she herself could use it with impunity. My problem is that I cannot tolerate stupidity. And this was a stupidity unlimited. They say that numerically Trump had lost. There were more votes against Trump. And Trump raised a very clear point. He said, well, look here, I have no problem with the protest, but why were these people not voting? Actually, I should have been charged with not voting, which should be considered a crime, as I've always been promoting. Now imagine they say that the electoral college is not a proper system. Agreed. But that if it was a proper system of election for 44 presidents, 44 presidents have been elected through this system, and all of a sudden they think it's not a proper system, and that too only after Hillary has been defeated. Where is the sense of equity and justice? So A, there are no global reasons for the protest. England, Berlin, Paris, Barcelona, Ghana, name it, and they were there. Except in some sensible countries like Japan, Korea, Thailand, India, they survived the epidemic, the pandemic. The point is that people, for their own ends, stupid ends, engineered it, and the complete thing went against their own professions. They were saying that the hacking, allegedly the hacking, was an interference in their system. That was a foreign intervention. Are the global protests not a foreign intervention in the internal affairs of USA? How is a woman sitting in Ghana impacted by the economic policies of President Trump? How is a woman tortured by ISIS and kept a sex slave affected? Of course she'll be affected, but she'll be affected in a positive manner because he has vowed to exterminate this scorpion. The whole thing reeks of a global conspiracy to defeat the forces of honesty. Again, one of the speakers who was saying that we are nasty women, another one who said that use the F word at least 3 times, and it was aired by CNN with a glee that is unparalleled. And they also said at that time, good has lost this time, thereby saying that even the anti-national and almost bordering on criminality, the actions of Hillary Clinton were good. I've always said that the concept of good is very subjective. What is good for them was not good for the millions of Americans who voted in favor of Trump. How come that here millions of the people assembled, marched down, created mayhem, disrupted common man's life, and went back, showing a so-called unity? My question again is, where is unity when the real issues are involved? As I said earlier, the rape of the Yazidi women, the beheading of the dissidents and women in Saudi Arabia, the slave traffic in Sudan, the slavery which I talked about earlier of 45.8 million people in the world, the lack of the water for drinking water for the millions of the people. Are they not issues which should be of concern to them? And what the people who engineered these protests, when they talk of the global implications, should they not talk about them and protest at that time? But no. Those things they would not do because rectifying those errors is not going to accrue any benefit to them. And then, when I saw on TV the protest parade in Toronto, I was amazed. Ontarians are burdened by hydro. There have been clear cases of billions and billions of dollars, taxi, medical taxi, and the gas plant and the wind one, each one about $1 billion, about $5 to $10 billion. And spiral grades of hydro, people are quitting all the time. But has there been a single protest march on this scale ever? I remember in 2010, we had organized a protest against auto insurance. And it was a flop for the simple reason people didn't come. And they were saying, well, we lose a daily salary, we are wage earners, and it's a problem. Yes, it is. How come this time hundreds and thousands of the people assembled over there without any care for the loss of the salary or the loss of the wages? And it was a working day, mind you. For most of the people, it was a working day. Then, it shows one that the people are incapable of exercising proper judgment. Isn't that it's a reason for not believing in democracy? And that's the main reason people are disillusioned about democracy. About disillusionment, we'll talk someday later on. But what has happened is that the protests go absolutely against all the professions of the democratic parties. They say they believe in democracy and they are negating democracy. They say they do not interfere in the internal affairs, and here they are promoting protests that are interfering in their internal affairs. They say equality for all. And here, I can show you the protests were against only at the time when the Republicans were the president. As I showed you, Vietnam, one country is bombed, their protests. Bush, two countries are protest, their protests. Obama, 7 countries are bombed, no protest. Now, should you be swayed by these protests? That's for you to decide. If you have some semblance of capability and understanding, you should not allow yourself to be hoodwinked by these people who are out to destroy your liberty, your freedom, your way of thinking. Today is a time for you to ensure that you can think for yourself. And neither the Liberal Party in Canada, nor the Democratic Party in USA, nor any other custodian has a right to decide for you. Stop being pawns of these politicians anywhere, whether conservative or liberal, whether Democratic or Republican. Think for yourself. These demonstrations have revealed the hollowness of all the protests for all the times. That only shows that the imbeciles shall follow the rats, like the rats follow the Pied Piper of Hamelin. These protesters will follow the leaders without a thought, without judgment, without any sense of discrimination. And that's what I want you to come out. Come out of the mental lethargy, think for yourself, and then act. Act in the best interest of yourself, your community, your country, your generation, and your coming generations. Think. And stop being pawns. Think. Be a person having your identity, your own way of thinking. Stop being the servile follower. Thank you.